McElroy and Cubelic, Jux 94.5, 8 o'clock here as we roll into hour number 2. If you missed any of the first hour, there's plenty more we need to get to, and you can also check it out on the podcast platform of your choosing. Just check out McElroy and Cubelic. Every single hour is cut up into a podcast that you can go and listen to at any point, so you can revisit a lot of the great conversation that we've had already. We look forward to continuing to entertain some of your phone calls as Cole's not here the next couple days, enjoying some much-needed time off. So you're the co-host. You could take the show wherever you want. We've already heard from Mailman. Love him. Always enjoy visiting with him and look forward to more calls here as the show rolls along. But our next call comes from a very, very good friend of mine. I think he's the best reporter in the business. He is Chris Lowe of On3 Sports. Chris, you've been all over it so far in the coaching carousel. Give us the most up-to-date information that you have as it relates to Michigan and their pursuit of Kalen DeBoer.
Well, Greg, thank you. I don't think they've given up. I think he remains their top guy. Now, I'm not saying Kalen in his mind is going there, but I think Michigan is prepared to sort of sit there the rest of this week, see what happens. I think at the end of the day, though, Kalen's going to stay at Alabama. I know he's been pretty strong, as strong as he has been the other day when he said yes twice when pressed on whether he would be the head coach at Alabama next year. I think the two names I continue to hear, Greg, are Jedd Fisch and Kenny Dillingham. There's some push there at Michigan for Jesse Minter, but you're talking, the NFL, the way that's the calendar is with NFL, you're not going to get Jesse Minter until somewhere into January, which makes it difficult. But so that's what I hear right now. There's been talk that Michigan, for the right guy, is ready to basically give a blank check. So does that mean that someone who's already re-upped with somebody or someone who just went somewhere, that the money's big enough to where they can get out? I don't know. But a lot going on at Michigan right now, as you know. So I think it's going to me, it's going to have to be blockbuster for somebody like that who's already, I'm just going to, let's say, it's not going to be Matt Campbell, Clark Lee re-up with Vanderbilt, but it'd have to be just outrageous, I think, for somebody to get out of their deal and go to Michigan, especially not knowing, let's be honest, is Ward Manuel going to be the AD?
Yeah.
6 months from now? I don't know.
I think that's a big question. That's a big reason why they're swinging for the fences, because his job could be on the line. I mean, he needs to kind of land a big fish here. And if he doesn't, he might ultimately be the one that is in a difficult spot. The fact that they don't owe Sharon Moore any money in the buyout, how does that impact the evaluation of their pursuit of some of these guys that you said might have some prohibitive buyouts for most other places?
Well, it's got to help, right? I mean, you're not having to pay somebody $12 million or $8 million to go away. I mean, Alabama paid $12 million just to get Kalen 2 years ago from Washington. So you don't have that if you're Michigan, with the guy you're firing, because you're firing with cause. So you've got some extra cash. And I think that's why Michigan, is willing to pay top dollar. To me, and this is no secret, man. It's all about being able to give a guy money to build his roster. That's where we are right now. The proper resourcing. And although you got the rev share, which is $20 million for the entire athletic department, about $15 million of that goes mostly to football. But you got the NIL part of it, which can't be written down. You can't necessarily give a guy a contract and say, okay, you're going to have $28 million. But you also could sit there and show them how you're going to do it, how you plan to do it. I think that resourcing part now, I know it was certainly a big part of Lane Kiffin's decision across the board. I think Michigan is prepared to do the same thing with whoever they get. But, Greg, that every coach now, before they re-sign with a school or take another job, they want to see your resourcing plan for NIL, how they can build their roster.
So what exactly does that look like now that it has to be authentic NIL? You can't just throw money at guys willy-nilly and expect for the College Sports Commission to allow. So what does that mean when you look at the the recruiting resources that once gave teams a significant advantage, is that still something that can be used to your advantage?
Yeah, I think it can. Now it's a little bit more. It's not as clear. Every school loaded up and front loaded all these deals last year for a lot of guys. It's going to be harder to do that now. So you got to be more creative. Let's be honest. You've got to figure out have people, donors, collective people that have a lot of cash and have businesses, and the whole fair market value phrase, Greg, is the one that gets me. What is fair market value?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
can you bring your quarterback and your star wide receiver to the biggest dealership in Birmingham or Atlanta or wherever, 4 straight Saturdays in off season and pay them, $100,000 every Saturday to shake hands with the customers and take pictures? Is that fair market value? I don't know. Can you pay them, $500,000 to do it? And that's the one. As you read through, what's legit and what's not, that's the one that always gets me. What fair market? Because I think everybody's definition probably would differ.
I think that's completely fair. As we visit with Chris Lowe of On3 Sports, does an amazing job. I think one of the best reporters ever when it comes to covering college football. And when you look at Kalen DeBoer, and I think a lot of people, it makes sense. Like, I think he's a top 5 coach. I think a lot of people realize that. And everyone just assumes, oh, well, he hasn't been at Alabama very long. And maybe he'd be willing to listen more than most that would also be in the, quote, top 5 coach conversation, because, Kirby's not going anywhere. Ryan Day's not going anywhere. I mean, Steve Sarkisian's not going anywhere. However you feel about Lane Kiffin, he just re-upped and now is getting a fresh start at LSU. So when you look at, top 5 coaches, he's the only one that might be, quote, gettable. Maybe Dan Lanning, but his buyout is outrageously prohibitive because Mario Cristobal left for Miami and Phil Knight said, we're not letting that happen again. You're going to work for me and you're not going anywhere. So why is it that Kalen DeBoer is always kind of on the short list as it relates to these job openings that will come open, every once in a while?
I'll start with Michigan. I think the connection with Michigan, Greg, is that when Nick retired, there were 2 names immediately that Greg Burns zeroed in on: Mike Norvell and Kalen DeBoer. And we could sit here all day and debate in what order, but it was DeBoer's job. Norvell said no. He got a big raise, what have you. Had it gone the other way, and Greg would have gone Norvell, or Norvell would have come to Bama, then there's no question in my mind right now, Kalen DeBoer would be the coach at Michigan. They wanted him then. The timing didn't line up because remember Harbaugh didn't go to the NFL until about 2 weeks later, 10 days later. So the timing really wasn't there. But they had interest in him then. So I think that's one of the reasons everyone has tied him to Michigan. The Penn State thing, I never really bought that. I don't think there was ever really any. That was not really. It wasn't reality that he was going to go to Penn State. Not after being at Alabama. I think the Michigan thing makes more sense because of that earlier tie. I don't know. The guy he coached a lot of his career out west. So I don't, people say, well, maybe it's a better fit. Well, how is that? Is it a better fit because of what? The Alabama pressure, the scrutiny. Listen, I've talked to Kalen enough, and you have too. Not so much in the last week or so. And I don't blame him. He's not said a whole lot. But when he got the job in the last year or so, there's a reason he came to Alabama. He came to Alabama because he wanted the challenge. And he told me, he said, there's only going to be one person who ever goes in behind someone as great as Nick Saban and gets a chance to see if you can continue to keep that thing rolling. I wanted that challenge. I ran to that challenge, and I don't think in his mind he wants to be known as the guy who runs away from it after 2 years. And I think that's sort of where we are right now. Do you listen? All these guys have representation, have agents. CAA is one of the best companies in the world. Jimmy Sexton's as good as it gets. So they work for their clients. So when other brand jobs come open, like a Michigan, you're going to look at it. And I think that's the case with all coaches. But I agree. I think Kalen, to me, when you look at, has it been perfect? Has the transition been perfect? No, but I don't know anybody that realistically thought it would be perfect. It's just, you're taking over for the greatest to ever do it. And I think the fact that Michigan wants him, certainly Penn State would have been interested. If he'd been interested, tells you that big brands think the guy can coach.
Yeah, there's no denying that as we visit with Chris Lowe. I think when you referenced Michigan being in the mix the last time, the worst kept secret in the history of college football was that Jim Harbaugh was going to the NFL. Everybody knew he was going to the NFL. I am of the belief that Jimmy Sexton, who represents Kalen DeBoer, knew that Jim Harbaugh was going to the NFL. It was just a matter of which job would he take. We'd take the Raiders, we'd take the Chargers. There was a few others that were in the mix. Like, you knew he was gone. It's just a matter of where. So if Kalen really wanted Michigan, why didn't he just go there 2 years ago and drag his feet in the process until Michigan came open, when everybody knew it was coming open inevitably? Like, to me, it felt like he chose Alabama then. So why would he not choose Alabama now?
Yeah, and I think going back to what I said a minute ago, I think that you're right. I think he knew that it probably was going to happen. And yes, he could have. I don't know how much of a roll of the dice it would have been, but he could have said, "Hey, thanks, but no thanks to Alabama. I'll wait on Michigan." But it goes back, I think, Greg, again, just based on my conversations, again, not in the last 2 weeks with Kalen, but over the last 2 years when he got the job and meeting with him, is that he wanted the challenge. A lot of people didn't want it. Alabama ain't for everybody, okay? And coaches who are established and have good gigs and they love their alignment where they are, look at that going in behind a Nick Saban and say, thanks, but no thanks. Kalen was sort of the other way. He wanted to do it. And I think that was as he started to go down that path and he knew Alabama was really interested in him, he was going to be working for a guy who hired him. I think that's the other thing. Greg Byrne was making that hire. Those were things that all appealed to him. And he knew he didn't come into Tuscaloosa with his eyes closed. Now, I don't think, and you would be able to speak to this, because I don't know what's harder, being a quarterback at Alabama or being a head coach at Alabama. You never really know for sure until you're right in the middle of it, right? Until you go through it and you walk in those shoes at either job. And I don't think you know that. So I think there's probably been some things in the last year and a half where he knew it was going to be like that. But then when you go through it, you're like, wow. But I think he is so competitive, and maybe he doesn't show it all the time outwardly. I think it burns more inside with Kalen than it does some people. They show it outwardly, that the thing he's focused on the whole way, and I think it brings it all back full circle to where we are this week in this first playoff game, that he's going to coach the tight end. I think that's been his focus, and all the stuff on the outside. I think by and large, he's been able to weather that. And give him credit too. I think he is, just in 2 years, he's evolved and he's adapted a little bit. Not who he is as a football coach, but maybe the way he goes about things a little bit. And clearly, his team responded after that really disappointing, embarrassing loss to FSU. They played really good football through the middle of the season against a schedule. Now, I know they didn't play the best down the stretch, but I do think his football team adjusted and responded to him, which I think most people wanted to see happen.
Yeah, I think they've done a remarkable job of righting the ship, that's for sure, and kind of using that disappointment as a galvanizing effect that could carry over for sure. You referenced where Michigan's coaching search would go. You referenced Jedd Fisch. You referenced Kenny Dillingham. What exactly with Jedd Fisch? He's done a great job in short increments. A couple years at Arizona, a couple years at Washington, but he's never really been anywhere for an extended period of time. Yet he continues to be mentioned every single time a big job comes open as a guy that would be in the mix. Not saying he shouldn't be, not saying he should be. I think he's a really good coach. I guess it's just hard to know exactly what he stands for because he's never been anywhere that long. So what is it about Jedd Fisch that has become so attractive to many administrators? And I guess why is he kind of in the mix for every job?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think offensively, his teams have typically been pretty good. And it's, I think you look so many times when the people that are making the hires, they want offense. That's sort of what they're attracted to. But he doesn't have a long body of work at just one place. And I think that is one of the things when if I'm an AD, that's certainly something I'm looking for. Or I'm looking for somebody that's, take Lanning, for instance. He'd not been a head coach, but you knew, and seeing what he'd done at Georgia and sort of a little bit of a clone maybe of Kirby when Kirby was a defensive coordinator. Those are typically the two right now anyway, the two models. And a guy like Kalen. Kalen had won everywhere he'd been. He hadn't been a lot of places other than Sioux Falls for a long time. He'd been at Fresno for a couple of years, Washington for a couple of years. But you saw that track record of winning. But I think the other answer to that question, Greg, is when you look out right now, you're sort of in last place trying to find a guy. Everybody else is, Sherrod Moore gets fired a week ago, and everybody else, the most chaotic coaching search we've ever seen. I don't know about you, but for me it is. And everyone has gone out and gotten somebody. They've re-upped with their coaches. You see guys getting Mike Elko is certainly in play. I think Penn State felt like they could get him. Nope. Texas said, not happening. We're going to take him to $11.5 million. You've got Marcus Freeman now, who I think you're going to continue to hear his name on the NFL front. And I think that's real. I can't speak for Marcus. I'm not saying he's going to go, but I do think that's real. So we may not be done yet, man, which is hard to wrap your hands around given what we've already gone through for the last month. Imagine, and again, I don't think Kalen's going to go, but imagine Bama and Notre Dame open up, or Notre Dame and Michigan still open. And let's say a Fisch gets it, and Washington, another good job, is open. My question to you is, you've asked me a lot of questions, is it ever going to end this cycle?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've never seen anything quite like it because we're talking about impossible circumstances given the calendar. We're talking about big name coaches that know the way things have been done the last 5 years cannot continue to be sustained because now it's rev share as opposed to free reign NIL. That's, I think, factoring in here. The fact that everybody thinks of making the playoff is a birthright. You should just be in no matter what. Everyone thinks the playoff is an attainable goal when in reality it's a very difficult spot to get to still. So I think there's a lot. Beyond Marcus Freeman, is there any other coach in college football that is viewed as attractive in the NFL?
Just sort of going through my brain right now. No, I think he's right there at the top. I talked to Marcus, had a chance to talk with him at length the week of the Pittsburgh game, so that's been about 3 weeks ago. And he was pretty adamant to me, Greg, that all the speculation out there about he was going to go here, go there in college ball, wasn't. He says, listen, that's other people put that out there. That's not me. That's not me. I'm not thinking about that. It's not on my radar. Now the subject of the NFL, a little bit different story. And I don't want to, and I can't speak for Marcus, but I do think that's a whole different deal than going to, say, a Penn State or a Michigan or anywhere else in college ball. And to answer your question, no, I can't think of anybody else right now, unless, and I don't think Kirby, I'm actually in Athens. I'm going to go see Kirby today, so I'll ask him. I'll tell him you ask. But unless Kirby decides he wants to go to the NFL, I can't think of anybody else right now, any other head coach in college football who would draw a greater or keener interest than a Marcus Freeman.
I don't think Kirby would he coached in the NFL. He knows that it's a little different world. I think he's got a real good thing going at Georgia. Why would you leave? Don't mess with that.
And that's why I said I don't think Kirby's going anywhere. I think Kirby's right where Kirby wants to be, and I think the foundation. I mean, people talk about culture and climate and environment. To me, at Georgia, the foundation that he's built at Georgia and made even stronger. I'm with you, Greg. I don't see Kirby ever going anywhere.
Excellent stuff. Chris Lowe joining us here on On3 Sports, of On3 Sports, joining us here. He just does a tremendous job. Chris, we'll get you out of here with this last one. Is there anything we're missing here? Is there anything that we're not hitting as it relates to the coaching carousel or guys going up, assistant coaches on the move? Sounding like Derek Nix is going to be taking over at Alabama as the wide receiver coach. Is there anything else that's kind of on your radar that might not be out there in public that we need to kind of keep our eye on?
Well, it's been in public to a degree. It's Gating's team every day. But what about the coach staff swap that's going on at Ole Miss and LSU right now?
Yeah.
I mean, if you told what's happened at those two schools with the swapping of coaches and Lane not coaching and, coaches going to LSU, now they're back to coach the playoff, Charlie Weiss. And think about telling this story, Greg, to somebody 5 years ago that this was going to happen. No one would have believed it.
Yeah.
And that's, again, I don't want to I want to harp on the calendar. The calendar is what it is.
Sure.
Hopefully we can tweak it and get away from this. But man, I think we forgot, and players move around too. Okay. But I think we've forgotten a little bit about the players. That can't be ideal to some of these players playing in these playoff games, knowing you basically got coaches that are hanging with you for a few more weeks or another week and they're gone, or a new guy, the guy that got you there, i.e. Lane Kiffin's gone. Look at the other schools. How many schools in the playoffs have a coordinator or a head coach who has taken another job, who's hanging around? And don't get me wrong, I think it's great that Summerall's hanging around to coach Tulane. Oregon's got both its coordinators who've taken other jobs, and good for those guys and Tosh. But it can't be ideal for the players. I mean, you tell me, if you're playing and a coach is, he's basically juggling two jobs, it's all human nature that you're thinking about, all right, what have I got in the portal coming up in my next job? And yet he's out there on the practice field coaching you, or vice versa. The guy's not there anymore. That's the part of where we are right now in the game. It's just, it's not right. It's not the way it should be. So hopefully, and I'm not smart enough to figure out, I'm not a Rhodes Scholar finalist like you were. Maybe you can figure it out. There's got to be a way to change it and do it to where it's a little bit closer to what they do in the NFL, where none of this stuff starts happening until after the season.
Hopefully we get there. And hopefully we get there very, very soon. Chris Lowe, you can follow him at CLowFB on Twitter. He does an amazing job. You can also check out all of his stuff on on3sports.com. Chris, we always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you again.
You bet. See you, Greg. Have a great day, brother.
All right, you too, buddy. I'm sure we'll talk later this afternoon. When I feel like I talk to Chris almost every day. It's like I talk to him as much as I talk to anybody this time of year. It's always crazy. It's always fun. And it's always enlightening to hear what he's hearing, because no one's more tied in than Chris. All right, take a quick break here. Come back. We want to get to some of your phone calls. 800-239-9569. Want to also get to some of your texts. 205-834-9450. We'll get to those on the other side. Here, bottom of the hour, talk a little bit about what it takes to prepare for a playoff game. Some priorities that I think every team should apply when putting their game plans together for the games coming up this weekend. We'll do it next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning on Jocks 94.5. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning on Jocks 94.5, 8:26 here in Birmingham, Alabama. And right up the road in Coleman's Bill Smith Buick GMC. They'll get you the best possible price on the best possible vehicle. End of the year is a great time to go and take advantage of some last-minute savings. The 2026s are rolling in, meaning they got to move some 2025s out, and they'll basically give them away at cost. Like a GMC Sierra 2500 four-wheel drive Denali Ultimate. $97,500 is the list price. You can get it for $12,000 off the sticker. That's $85,530. You won't find that deal anywhere else. That's why you take the short drive to Coleman. You're going to be a repeat customer. 75% of their business is a repeat customer because everyone that goes up there has a better experience when they shop at Bill Smith Buick GMCs. Take the short drive up there, I-65, exit 310, Highway 31 in Coleman. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com. They are the dealer of the year for a reason. 5 years in a row, 8 times overall, the national champions. And we want to find out who's going to be the national champion in college football. You don't need to. When it comes to GMC dealers, Bill Smith already has that covered. Let's go to Tom in Birmingham. Tom, how are you, my friend?
Hey, man, thanks for taking my call. I wanted to call when Lane was moving to LSU, but I can do it now. There are 3 kinds of coaches, and you referred to DeBoer this morning. There are 3 kinds, and one category is keepers. We know who those are. The Sabins and the DeBoers and Kirby. They're the middle class, which are misfits and mediocre, and that's where the largest group is. But then you have the stinkers, and you want to really stay away from the stinkers. And I'll say Lane is a stinker in the sense of that he leaves programs in disarray. You can go to Petrino, even Harbaugh, and others that you know of, Freeze. And, boy, once a school gets tagged with a stinker, it's hard to get that off of you. Penn State is still dealing with that 40 years later. But the misfits are people like Brian Harsin at Auburn and others that you know just do not fit. I think DeBoer would be a misfit at Michigan, but that's just my opinion. But stinkers, man, they may win national championships, but they will usually end up leaving your program with some kind of stigma attached, whereas the keepers are just so rare. And they don't necessarily have to win championships, but they most of the time do. And one of those is at Clemson and Dabo Swinney. Thanks. We'd just like your opinion on that, Greg.
Oh, interesting perspective, Tom. Appreciate it. Never thought. Damon, you ever heard of it described that way?
Never.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I understand what you're saying. I think there are a lot of it has to do with fit. I think some guys just transcend. You could put Nick Saban, in my opinion, at Wyoming. He'd probably be a G5 champ every year. Yeah. You know, there's some guys that just can get it done. Their style works. But if you put them at, say, you know, TCU or something, I don't know. Would it be different? I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue. But it's interesting to think about. Like, I think there are a lot of really good coaches out there. I do. I think there's a lot of really, really smart coaches that take bad jobs. I mean, that to me is 95% of the process, Damian and Bear. Like, you got to take the right job, or else you can go from keeper to stinker in 2 seconds. I mean, honestly, if Kirby would have taken South Carolina in 2015, which he was offered, that's what led to Georgia firing Mark Richt and ultimately going and getting him. Had he taken South Carolina, you think South Carolina is the Georgia of today?
That'd be close.
I think it'd be harder.
Yeah.
Might be, but you don't know. But it'd be harder. I think a lot of why Kirby is so good is because he's at a place where you can be really, really good consistently and has been for a very, very long time. So I think that helps for sure.
Yeah, and kind of to Tom's point, like I wouldn't say Kalen DeBoer would be a misfit at Michigan. I think it would be he'd be more of a cleanser. Like, he's probably with the coaches that you've had the past couple seasons. Like, I feel like he'd kind of change the narrative a little bit.
And I feel like we're maybe forgetting or there should be maybe another category, because there are ones that perfectly fit that just don't work out. Because part of the reason Cole said he's not doing fit anymore, because what better fit than was there ever than Sam Pittman at Arkansas?
Yeah.
Like, he's not a misfit. Like, he fit that perfectly.
100%.
But it didn't work. And let's be honest, but going into it, did Nick Saban fit LSU? No. But it worked out.
Northerner.
Yeah.
Right.
What's that
Big old
Yankee going to do around
Yankee.
here? Right. They thought it'd be more like Brian Kelly coming down, having Nick Saban say family or something like that. But no, it worked out. So I don't think misfits necessarily. It's something that working. Yes, you have your Brian Harsis that come in and just don't feel right. But even if he'd have come down, but if he'd have been, had 9-10 wins, all of a sudden that misfit would have fit right in.
Yeah.
It depends on the place.
True.
Like, in all seriousness.
Because you look at his resume, going back to Brian Harsin, like, if you looked at his resume, he was a winner everywhere else.
Brian
Just didn't work.
Harson's a good football coach.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good football coach. I don't think anyone's going to push back on that. The guy can coach. It's just at that place, it's a weird fit because he doesn't want to play the game. That's not
Right.
his thing. Like, he wants to, like, you leave me alone. Let me coach ball. I don't want to do anything else. Well, it doesn't work there. Like, it doesn't work at a lot of places in the SEC because it's big business here, and guys that support the program expect to have access. I mean, that's the way it goes. It was that way in Tuscaloosa prior to Nick Saban's arrival.
Yep.
That's the way it goes. Like, it matters to a lot of people here, so they want to be involved. They want to be close to the program. And Harsin wanted none of it. And
to Tom's point, too, he says Lane Kiffin's a stinker, but I don't think he gets these level of jobs if, quote-unquote, he stunk. Like, he's proven that it works. It's just the way he goes about it may be a little bit unique compared to a lot of other coaches. But when he gets to places, he usually wins.
Yeah. I also think, too, like, there's a little bit of a like, I think Lane's a great coach. I've always thought that, even dating back to his time as an OC at Alabama. I think he's awesome. I think he's great with quarterbacks. I think he knows how to coach it. I think he's got a cool style of offense. Like, I think he knows what he's doing, for sure. But I think there's a little bit of, like, a misconception about how much he's won. Who had the most talented roster in college football last year outside of Ohio State? Probably Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
I mean, they were legit, dude. I mean, stacked, and they lost 3 games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's like a perfect. I mean, it's like I think a lot of people would look at last year and say, "Oh, yeah, that wasn't great." That was how do you lose to a 4-8 Kentucky team at home with that roster?
Yeah,
can't happen. It can't happen. So I think there's a little bit of a misconception. He's kind of put on a bit of a pedestal, fair or unfair. It's just he's on a little bit of a pedestal for whatever reason when it comes to the way people evaluate him. We see you on hold. We're coming to you. Damian, we also have some texts coming in too, right?
We do indeed. 205-834-9450. Clarence from Hoover, with Derek Nix coming to Alabama as a wide receivers coach, he says, will he bring a certain receiver from Auburn with him? Wink, wink.
Don't need him. Don't want him. These colors don't run.
Nah. They don't get
but we'll take him.
Right. If he wants to go, yeah, feel free.
I really don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's always this expectation. There's always this. I think it's a little different now. Like, I do think the position coach matters with the relationship stuff as much as anything, but there's so many other factors now when it comes to, this guy, he coached me here.
Right.
But it's kind of about money. It's, there's just more factors now.
Drake takes in, he's a longtime Gators fan. He says, fans, people are taking DJ Lagway hitting the portal is a major blow. Don't get me wrong. I like DJ, but this doesn't really feel like it's a big deal.
Don't worry. We're going to get into that.
Oh, boy.
Keep it locked in. 25 minutes. Top of the 9 o'clock hour. We're doing portals, quarterbacks.
They're getting TJ Finley, aren't they?
Should. TJ Finley should have started over Bo Nix. Remember that.
Well, if Bo Nix hadn't got hurt, it would have been a quarterback battle going into the Iron Bowl. So I've heard.
I was told TJ Finley was better than Bo Nix. That was what I was told.
Oh, boy.
That's what I was told that in this studio.
Yeah, you are. People opened their mouths and said that TJ Finley would be a better option at quarterback than Bo Nix.
How great would it be to have receipts?
Boy,
gosh, I wish we had him.
He's looking for his 7th year of eligibility and also his 7th school.
Heck yeah. More the merrier.
At some point you got to get a job, brother.
Those helmets are like $300 a pop. You add those up, 7 schools, 7 helmets.
And we found out yesterday he's actually a graduate of Auburn.
Heck yeah.
He graduated. So he's got his degree. So this will be his 3rd time as a graduate transfer?
AU family. That's it.
Add TJ Finley to that.
We see you on hold. We are coming to you. Do not hang up. I promise you, right on the other side of this break. I just have to take one because Saber's going to kick me if I don't. Right after this break, we are going to take your phone calls. So we see you, Crimson. We see you, Blake. We see all you guys on hold. We also see more texts, more tweets coming into the show. Make sure you continue to fill it up. It's just us three today. No
Absolutely.
Cole. No Cole to fill it up with hand and a date talk. So we can talk about everything today. And we don't even talk Auburn today. That's the best part. No, we will. We will talk Auburn. Don't worry. Don't you sweat it. We have plenty to talk about. We also have, in the final hour of the show, we have several audio clips from Kalen DeBoer, Ty Simpson, Pete Golding, Trinidad Chambliss, Ryan Grubb, Kane Womack. Like, we got a lot of stuff that we still got to get to, and we only have an hour and 23 minutes left. Good news is they'll let us come back tomorrow. So if we don't get to it today, we can get to it tomorrow. But before we get to that, and before we get to your phone calls, I want to first tell you about my friends at Bromberg's. Still a great time to go in there. Goodness gracious, it's a great time. Love it. Going in there, buying things that are going to last forever. Like, it's hard to spend money around the holiday season. It's expensive right now. Believe me, getting back from Disney, I have $0 in my bank account. I'm actually in debt. But if I were to spend money on something, I'd want it to last. I'd want it to be around for generations. I'd want to be able to pass it down to my kids. So make it a Christmas to remember with a custom piece of jewelry at Bromberg's. Our master jeweler, Philip Flanagan, can handcraft something truly one of a kind that's designed just for you or someone you love. Whether it's reimagining an heirloom or creating a brand new design, a custom piece from Bromberg's is a gift that tells your story. Visit Bromberg's in Mountain Brook or the Summit and make this holiday season unforgettable. All right, when we come back, hang on hold. We are taking your phone calls. We're on the other side. Keep sending the tweets in. Keep sending the texts in. We'll get to those as well. It's Mac and Q. Welcome back. An hour from now, I'm going to tell you about what's going on in my personal life and how I am not quite in a midlife crisis, but there are members of my family that think I am.
Can't shake that label.
Can't shake that label. Can't shake that label.
So when Greg starts driving a Harley Davidson during the summer, we'll know. Like,
First of all, I'll drive an Indian. If I ever were to get a bike, I'm getting an Indian because my neighbor had an Indian growing up. Like that's like my dream bike. Like I've always wanted a motorcycle. I really have always my whole life I've wanted a motorcycle because my godfather had a motorcycle. Like he had a Harley. My neighbor had an Indian. Like I just always wanted one. My wife would never in a million years allow it. But she knows I would fall. I'm just not the most I'm not good at stuff like that. I'd definitely crash. I'm bad at things.
Oh man.
But we do have some great phone calls on the line. You guys were so patient. Let's go to Crimson Convict. Crimson, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, brother. Merry Christmas to you.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you. By the way, John typed your name in as Crimson Convict on the name.
No,
so I can get through the pronunciation guide. I drew the conclusion. It's not Christmason Convict, right? It's Crimson.
Crimson Convict. Yeah,
perfect.
Damien knows me. He's met me.
Oh, no, I know you.
Very well
big Bama guy.
I know you.
All right, 10-4. Hey, by the way, too, that Indian dark horse,
Yeah.
sweet ride, man.
The sweetest.
Oh,
It's literally
beautiful.
my dream. It's my dream vehicle. Hopefully, Indian will come out with a flying motorcycle at some point. I'll get that. It'll be 40 years from now. Can't wait.
If the wife will let you.
Yeah,
Listen,
exactly.
I got a comment, and then I have a question about DeBoer's offense. So the comment is this, man. I was considering a successful season this year to be the playoffs plus one. So the playoffs plus a win. And I've been a huge critic of DeBoer. I have. But clearly the experts in the know that know more than me and 99% of the layman's out there see this guy as an elite coaching talent. And before Alabama fans want to put him on the boat and send him on his way, my question is this. I have heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, his offense is predicated on smaller, more athletic linemen, like a Parker Brailsford, because of his complex blocking schemes, his kickouts, his pulls to develop holes and whatnot. He has not even had time to develop that yet, to implement his system. Am I off base on that, or is that the type of offense that he runs?
That's what he utilized with great success at Washington. The funny thing is people say, oh, they don't run the ball. Go look, and it was the first year of Mac and Cube. The first game that we ever got excited about on a Football Friday was a game involving Kalen DeBoer's offense when he was at Fresno State. And we told you Fresno was playing UConn that day. It was our first game we ever broke down. It was week 0. I'm like, dude, go watch this Fresno team. They got a running back named Ronnie Rivers that is an absolute bona fide dude. They got a quarterback named Jake Hayner that's a stud. And they went and beat UConn 70. It was absurd. But he did have some road graders at Fresno. I think it's a bit of a trial and error. All right, this worked at Washington. Will it work at Bama against the defensive lineman? You see, I think it's just he's still trying to kind of figure out what it's going to take to be super successful in the league, because a lot of your lineman builds is based on the personnel you're playing against. But I do think in time, a more athletic, sleeker, longer lineman is preferred. I would agree with that.
Okay. Well, look, guys, give him a chance. Let's see what he does in the Oklahoma.
Let me ask you this, Crimson. Let me ask you this. I'm not trying to cut you off.
No.
I feel like you are like many others that are finally starting to come around. This guy actually is the real deal. I think it's taken people a little time because they're so used to what it was. They're so used to the demonstrative nature of Nick Saban throwing his headset on the sideline, 4-letter words galore. I think it's just been a bit of an adjustment period where it is different. But Kalen's got to be Kalen. You cannot deny the coaching acumen, though, and I think people are starting to realize that. You clearly are one of those. Do you feel like everyone else is getting on board as well?
I hope so. I think it's half and half right now because as Bama fans, we're spoiled, man.
Of course.
We just are.
No doubt.
And here's the thing. we were fortunate enough to have two of the greatest college football coaches ever, two of the GOATs, in the Bear and Nick Saban. But let me remind people, man, after the Bear, besides Gene Stallings, we were wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, literally, until we finally found that other guy. And it didn't bode well for us. But, yes, I'm buying into it, and the reason I was a huge critic when he lost to FSU. But the 4-game stretch where he got this team together, and we knocked off 4 ranks back to back to back to back. You cannot do that if you don't have something in the tank. And that right there is what won me over. Okay? Yep. I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's got the personnel that he really, really wants. He's stringed together top 5 recruiting classes. He's got us in the playoffs. Guys, what more do you need? You're not going to get Saban 2.0. Back up, give the guy a chance. Let's see how it goes before you send him somewhere else and he's successful and puts the hardware in the trophy case over there.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, Crimson. Thanks for your call. The one thing I'll say, guys, if Nick Saban took over at Alabama in 2023 or whatever year it was, 2024, it'd be much harder to do what he did. The era doesn't allow for you to stockpile talent the way he was able to. It's different now. It's going to be more parity now. It's going to be harder to go 12-0, 11-1, 10-2. It's just harder now. It doesn't mean that Coach Saban wouldn't eventually figure it out. I think he would, but in this era to win 6 titles, I think it's going to be very, very hard to do. I'm just telling you.
Brutal.
Right now, it's going to be really making the playoff is a tremendous achievement, especially when you look at the schedules these guys are going to have to play, not just this year, but in the years to come. Let's go to Blake in Huntsville. Blake, how are you, my friend?
Good guys. How y'all doing?
Excellent. Thank you for calling, buddy.
Yeah. First off, it just blows my mind how the no clue about anything organization just can't seem to get anything right. This calendar is just a debacle. When do you think realistically they're going to implement some changes as far as that goes? And what do you think the best path forward is?
It's.
I can sit here and highlight the problems, but I'm not sure I have the solution.
That's the problem, is that with every solution, there is an unintended consequence. It's not like these guys, like the people are smart. And I honestly think people don't realize this. Like, people have been killing the NCAA forever. Like, they think the NCAA is really trying to screw things up. No, they want it to be smooth. They want it to be fair. They want a level playing field. Like, they're really trying. Like, their intent is good. Like, I really believe that. Like, their intent is try to make sure that the game is protected and it's safe, and the world that we live in. Like, we've made adjustments already. They've moved the transfer portal window to June, to January 2nd. There's been talks about moving signing day from December to June, so move it up 6 months. But guess why that's not going to be greenlit just yet? Because high school coaches and their association, for example, Texas high school coaches, you know how powerful the Texas High School Coaches Association is?
Pretty powerful. They moved the Baylor and Auburn game from a Saturday to a Friday.
Dude, it's Texas high school football coaches. It's like, it's a stronger union than, it's not even union, but it's stronger than the MLB. Like, it's a beast. High school coaches, if you move signing day up from December to June, there are a lot of high school coaches that are really concerned about their, quote, prospects not playing their senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. That's awful. What was the best time you ever had playing football? Don't you dare say it's Birmingham Southern.
No, Lord, no. No, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's my senior year of high school.
Heck yeah, mine too.
I went to state championship.
My same deal.
But
like, the best experience I ever had playing football, outside of like just dominating folks in Pee Wee, as a lineman, pancaking everybody.
Yeah, that was
because I was over the weight limit. Other than that, it was high school football, man. You're 100%. Playing for your city, like your buddies. You grew up playing Pee Wee football together. It's your last chance to go chase something together before you all go your separate ways. Like, high school football is the best. And now we run the risk of potentially sacrificing that. So that's the unintended consequence. Like, we try to fix the calendar for college football, and you ruin high school football. Like you try to fix the portal and now you've ruined the coaching cycle. Like there's unintended consequences all the time. There is no right answer. It's just a messy situation. The only way to do it is to move everything back. I think you can also adjust the schedule to where our semifinal games are played on January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Semifinal games are on January 1st and or the championship games on January 1st. And you move everything else up. So college football starts the second week of August as opposed to Labor Day. Like that's a way of fixing it too. So there's things you can do, but it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And that's just the way it's unfortunately going to be. All right, take a quick break. Come back. More of your tweets, more of your phone calls, more of your reaction next on Mac and Cube. Text coming into the show. Quote from my friend Ginger, who one of the great athletic trainers in the history of college football and baseball, by the way. Did a lot of the arm rehab with her. She's fantastic. Quote, when a man loses a lot of weight and starts tanning plus wearing designer jeans, it's 100% sure he's in a midlife crisis. Just don't do any of those things. You'll be fine. Not tanning, clearly.
Yet.
Same.
Always trying to.
You literally went to Florida, but all right.
Always trying to. No designer jeans.
No.
Mine are perfectly Wranglery. I don't need to get into too deep in the weeds there. No freebies on the show.
None.
If Wrangler wants to write a check, we'll tell him that's what I wear. Do have some other jeans. I wouldn't call them designer. They were $45.
Yeah.
Plus 20% off.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We still have a lot that we got to get to. We got audio from coaches, players leading up to the playoff game this weekend. We also, I'm going to tell you on the other side of this break, and I want Damian and Cole or Damien and Bear to weigh in here. What it takes to prepare for a playoff game next on Mac and Cube.